I really feel like HEMA is more like dancing, you know? You're moving around your opponent, you're trying to out-strategize them, you're using dexterity over strength, and I think that that's just beautiful. And that's why I love the small sword. I love very movable swords. I really feel like you don't need any more than something like this. This is perfect. This is exactly what every sword fighter needs. Any more than this and I really feel like you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, so I don't know how to read, so I'm just gonna bonk them. Welcome back. It's that time again, another longsword sword review. This model is the Model 1010 from Swordier, a Chinese forge that creates really good but affordable European and Japanese style swords, as well as some Chinese swords as well. This is possibly the largest two-handed sword I have ever reviewed and is based on a Type 20 blade from the oak shot typology and a Type 18B grip, so it's kind of an amalgamation of both styles. This sword is extremely long and quite large, and it feels like something like the mountain from Game of Thrones would carry. It's very, very big, but the blade is about as wide as other long swords I've seen. I would say maybe just a tiny bit wider, but it's such a pretty long sword. I mean, I don't even know if I should call this a long sword. It's reaching to like almost great sword length, but I wouldn't say that it is actually a great sword. It's very attractive looking right off the bat. You have like the gold inlay right there, and a lot of file work done to it. The fullers are very, very nice, and it is, as far as I can tell from just touching, very, very, very sharp. If you're into very large swords, I would say that this, especially for the price point, which is just under $500, that's crazy, would fit your collection very well. In this review today, we're going to take the Model 1010 and we're going to go over all of the stats, what it's made out of, how it feels in the hand, and of course, how well it cuts through soft and hard targets. But before we get into the review, if you're into sword content, medieval and Japanese, this is the channel for you. Please consider giving us a like and subscription. It really helps us out. And if you do subscribe, remember to hit that notification bell so you don't miss when we have another video out. We plan on releasing not just sword reviews this year, but a lot of instructionals on how to use the many different swords that our club trains in. So you're not going to want to miss that. Anyways, back to the review. Full disclosure, Swordier did send me the Model 1010 for free, but like our other reviews, we try our very best to be unbiased, and if there's something about the sword that I personally do not like, or I think that Swordier can do better, I will tell you, because it doesn't really benefit the sword market as a whole if we do not continue to tell these companies what works and what doesn't. So I'm going to continue to criticize and praise as needed. But before we do a deep dive on this sword, let's talk about its price and what it comes with. Now, for under $500, you get an amazing sword, but just like all of the other swords that Swordier sells, it comes with a scabbard. And I am going to tell you that this scabbard is really nice. It has a lot of work here. You can see how there are, I don't know what you would call this, there's just like the raised areas that you can put the mounting system on, and it also comes with this little leather band right here, and according to Swordier, this is all real leather. This is not PU or any kind of synthetic leather. It is stitched on the back, which some of my higher end swords from like Pavel Mach and other makers as well, this is also featured on these higher quality swords. It has an embossed area, which I think is very cool. It looks a lot better than their previous laser etching. This looks like high quality work. It doesn't look like it was just laser etched on, because it wasn't. You can feel it. It's physical, which is cool. And of course that little cross that they have there. This looks like a much higher quality scabbard than the cost would suggest. This is the same shape that they've used on many other swords before, which is of course going to save them money. And you have this like rain flap right here to guard the sides of the sword. It's just a triangular flap to keep the moisture out. And it is wood cord, just like all of the other scabbards. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a piece of like felt in there. I'm looking at it right now. It looks like, or it might actually be a piece of leather. It's like a thin piece of leather on the side of the scabbard. And what that is doing when I resheath is it is creating a really tight fit. So I can hold this heavy sword upside down. And again, it's like a 4-pound sword, a little over 4 pounds. and it's not coming out at all. But when you unsheath it, it comes out just as you need it. You're not getting hung up. I think that this washer or whatever they have in there, this little shim, is a great addition to making this sword feel extremely high quality. Just sliding it into the scabbard, it's very, very easy. I could talk about the looks of this sword all day, but I want to see how it feels in the hand, so let's go. So I just measured this gigantic sword. It has a blade that's a little over 42 inches, and the grip, not including the pommel, is 11 inches, so we're looking at a 12-inch grip total with the wheel pommel. It doesn't feel bad, and we're gonna figure out where this point of balance is in a second, because I have a suspicion that this point of balance is very close to the guard, and that's very surprising because the last large sword that we had was further out, 5 to 6 inches. This feels like 3, 2, something like that. I'll use a mixture of some great sword techniques as well as some longsword techniques, and we'll just figure out how it feels together. Very stoppable. Using those back edge cuts, if you continue and let the sword go, it's not bad. But if you were gonna try to stop it, if you're back here, it's actually not too bad. Not too bad. I have to get a lot of room, this thing's big. Yeah, it's not super nimble. Like if you try to treat this like a longsword, I think that you're gonna end up feeling pretty sore. Like even the sverking, it's slower for sure. I can feel it dragging my arm. But the edge alignment's easy because the ricasso and the cross guard right here, it's flat. So putting my thumb on it, super, super easy. It's good, it's fun to flow, it's just not fun to stop. Ooh, it's definitely an arm workout. Let's try some point control on this. Very easy with point control, actually. I will say it is fatiguing me much more than a normal size longsword, so probably bigger flowy cuts, similar to what you would have with montantes. I'm not going to claim to know how to use that. I've only taken one class on it, but I would say more Molinets and flowy cuts. Those feel a lot more natural, and you have a lot more room to keep someone back. Yeah, those don't fatigue me all that much at all when you use your core. I really feel like this is supposed to be heavier than this, and I think it's because point of balance is further back. So let's figure out where that is. That's only about 3 inches or so from the cross guard. That's very far back from where I thought it would be with a sword this big. I thought we would have more weight in the front here, but that's why this doesn't feel like a club. It actually does feel like a weapon of war. It feels very, very usable, finesseful, but also still heavy hitting. The point of percussion, yeah, right here on the blade. So there's the tip, there's the sword. It's a little closer to the halfway point than most of the other long swords that I've used. So that means that they've most likely thinned this top end where the tip is a lot to keep the weight closer to the grip. And so that way this doesn't feel like a great big axe when you're swinging it. Very impressed on the feeling of this blade. Let's take it to the scale and calipers and see how much it weighs and if it has distal taper. Let's go. Okay, let's see how much this gigantic monster weighs. Almost at 4.2 pounds. And if we were to convert that over into grams, we're looking at 1,900 grams almost exactly. That's a hefty sword. And of course, no Ludus review is complete without my dead calipers, so we're gonna see how much distal taper is from the base of the blade all the way to the tip. All right, so we are currently at that amount. I promise you guys I'll have batteries in later on just so you can see. That's where we're at. Definitely seeing some distal taper, but it's not a whole lot actually. And at the very end, right there, you're gonna see quite a bit. So I was right that they thinned out the blade near the end. And you can see I'm gonna squeeze it. That's how much was at the center when I squeeze it. That's what's left. So it's quite thin near the end. The tip does not look to be reinforced. Actually, it is. I'm feeling it right there. The tip has been reinforced slightly near the end. So it's not a needle point tip. You're still going to have some tip strength on there, but the distal taper is not really noticeable until near the end. So again, I still think that that's very acceptable, and the blade feels pretty good. How sharp is this blade? Let's find out. Let's find out. So I've got a piece of paper right here, and this is really hard to do this with a sword this big, so I'm going to try my best. I don't even really know how to hold this thing while doing it because it is unwieldy with one hand. And okay, with my offhand, it's actually still pretty sharp. I'm having a hard time aligning it just because I have to hold this. I almost have to hold this under my armpit like that. Let's see if I can get it. Hold on. I have to drag the paper up the sword, which is new. I hope I got that on camera. Let me back up a little bit. That's pretty impressive. I did it with my right hand. Yeah. For such a big sword, this is very sharp, and just like all the previous models we've reviewed from Swordier, edge geometry is looking fantastic. I don't see an ugly secondary bevel. You already know if you watch this channel, I hate that. I hate seeing any sword that's a modern reproduction have that ugly secondary bevel. I know they were historical in many swords, especially if you were field sharpening, but if I had to choose what kind of edge I would get on a sword, it would be something like this. So it's just very interesting to see a very large sword with a very keen edge. But I'm done with all this reviewing. I want to cut with this thing. Let's go and see how a sword this big cuts through some targets. All right, so we have the gigantic Swordier longsword, great sword thing. We're gonna see how well it hits. That's the point of percussion, about right there. Let's see if I can hit with it. That's like no effort. I probably could have swung half of that and gone right through. Gotta get better at those cuts. I think those bottles just don't like the cut. Or, I don't know, maybe I'm making excuses. That was near the tip of the sword, and that still cut well. Barely felt it, went right through. Probably my favorite cutting longsword from Swordier so far. That was really fun. Let's see how this fares against bamboo. Due to lack of rain, we didn't have a lot of wet bamboo, unfortunately, and so most of the bamboo that we received was very dry, and we weren't able to harvest as much as we would have liked. So this is with the very end of the sword on a smaller, more hydrated piece of bamboo. Let's see how it goes.
Oh my God!
Body cut, I'm like snap cutting it, and it is doing it. So try it again. This side you can see a lot of it is just because these are kind of dehydrated, right? They pull apart. They're not as soft. You can feel it on the inside. So unfortunately, some of these cuts are going to be a little messy, but the angle looks okay. I feel like if these were tatami, this would cut just fine, and the angle looks pretty good. So I like this. This is good. I was worried that this sword was not a good cutter, but judging from the bottles we did yesterday and then how it performs on the more hydrated pieces of the bamboo, I think it's still good. It's still good. I hope you guys enjoyed our review of the Swordier 1010 model longsword / greatsword. This is a really unique piece just because of its sheer size, and unlike a lot of the other swords we've gotten, their fuller work and the way that the sword just looks is really eye-catching. And the gold coin disc pommel, I think, just really is eye-catching, and I mean, even down to the details of how the pommel is attached, looks almost like something Albion would do, something that is much more expensive. The sword feels solid in the hands. There's no rattle after doing the cutting we've done with it. And the sword isn't overly flexible, even for how long it is, right? Because it feels like it could be very whippy, but it isn't. It actually has a lot of rigidity, but it is still flexible enough that it is made like a traditional European longsword type weapon. So that's pretty cool. Who is this sword for? If you're somebody who is into great swords, montantes, things like that, and you don't want to spend over $1,000 on a sharp sword, and you also don't want to get a wall hanger, I would say that this definitely fits the bill for you. It isn't a true great sword or montante. Those are going to be quite a bit bigger, but I would say that this is bigger than most long swords. So I like the way that this is put together. I think it's for people who are really into larger swords. And it cuts very well. After all of the cutting we did, the sword is still very sharp. Yeah, all the way to the top. So the heat treat is very similar to the other swords we've gotten from Swordier. We've never had a break with them. We've had a few chips from hitting metal, never from bamboo. And this isn't warped or chipped in any way from the bamboo cutting that we did. Value with this sword is incredible. It's a very large, well-made weapon, and it comes under $500. That's absolutely insane. And Swordier could have probably gotten away with making this a lot plainer and the price would still be worth it, but they decided to go all out, and everything from the grip all the way to the fuller work on the blade, it just looks incredible. I wish I could find more things to be critical about this blade, but it is unique enough, and at the price point, there's really nothing I have to complain about. If this were maybe something like an Albion, something up in the $1,500 range or $1,000 range, I probably would find some imperfections somewhere, such as maybe the fullers not being exactly symmetrical, but that of course adds to the handmade aesthetic of this weapon. Either way, guys, thanks for watching this review. If you're into historical swordsmanship, please check out our website, www.historicalfightingarts.com. We host HEMA classes and Kenjutsu classes every single week, almost every single day of the week. And if you're in the Hampton Roads area, we would love to train with you. If you're looking for merch and coffee, we have an online store that you can check out. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more sword reviews. That's all I got for you. Bye.